Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I want to talk about the cultural difference in global business based on Irene Mayer's framework, the culture map. The key idea is simple. Culture shapes the way we communicate, lead, and build trust. Understanding these cultural differences can make or break communications in the intercultural workplace. Before we start, let's take a look at this case. So Dave is Canadian. He works for an international company which has a subsidiary in Taiwan. Because he did such a great job last year, so the company decided to transfer him to Taiwan, working with the local team to help the business grow. But since he arrived in Taiwan, he had trouble fitting into the local group, which not only led to bad relationships, he also didn't reach the business goal. What would Dave do? We discussed this case in our class. There are 9 things probably would help him, such as learning mentoring, bring in more Western managers, organize lectures on his employee on Western business practice, learn more about Taiwan, slow down his approach, send some of his managers to work in Canada, organize a one-day seminar on business cultures, organize a meeting at which all the cultural problems are discussed, or bring in a local management consultant. Those could be all helpful, but what would be the 3 priorities if you were Dave? To understand this situation is not caused by personality or any kind of personal reasons. We need to know more about the business culture difference. There is a concept that is essential for anyone working in the international business: high context and low context business environment. The term were introduced by anthropologist Edward Hall that describe how much people in a culture rely on context to communicate. So basically, in a high context culture, communication depends heavily on nonverbal cues, shared understandings, and relationships. Messages are often indirect, and what is not said just as important as what is said. However, in a low context culture, communication is explicit, direct, and clear. The words themselves carry the meaning, and less is left to interpretation. Here are some high context business culture countries such as Japan, China, and Spain. Here shows some low context business culture countries like the United States, Germany, and Netherlands. The cultural differences influence different areas in workplace, such as evaluating and feedback, building trust. It could be either task-based or the relationship-based, leading and deciding, time orientation, disagreeing and persuading. It could be principle first or the application first. If you are interested in the details, you can also read this book. So the book shows us there's no single right way to communicate, lead, or build trust. Each culture has its own defaults. Being aware of these differences help us communicate more effectively, build stronger trust, and succeed in international business. The challenge in global business is not to impose one style, but to recognize the differences, adapt our approach, and bridge the gap. In today's global business world, cultural intelligence is not just helpful, it's essential. So now let's get back to the case. What would you do if you were Dave? Well, from our group study, we set 3 things as priority. First, learn more about Taiwan. Second, bring in a local management consultant. Third, organize a meeting at which all the cultural problems are discussed. Well, also about the language, Mandarin is hard to learn, but it always helps when you try a little bit just to show your attitude that you want to fit in and you are making effort for it. But back to reality, this is actually exactly what happened to me when I moved to Hong Kong in 2021. I tried all these things. I learned Cantonese. I organized meetings and seminars to talk about the differences in products and services. I approached local management for opinions and advice. They all work in a way, but not too much, especially at the end of every month when I need to collect the data about orders and finance. There will always be some tense. So that's when I realized that there is a price to pay doing anything. We need to be determined enough about what we want and where we want to go, and then move forward bravely, bring all the pressures along the way, and facing all the difficulties. May we all be brave enough to be ourselves. See you next time.